Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. I just chimed in and I see I've got the wrong logo up. I need to flip that out. There we go. Got the Shipyard logo up. How is everybody doing? Can you hear me okay? Stream lights are not on. I am totally not prepared today. There we go. How is everybody doing? Hopefully well. Sounds good. Socially Confused says. Sounds good. Good. Art will be joining us here in a short bit. So thank you very much, everyone, for popping over. Hope you're all having a great week. How's everybody's week? How is everybody's week? I'm pulling up a few things here while you all decide how your week was. Okay. We're going to have a Kraken evening tonight. We are. We're going to talk, obviously we have to talk about the Kraken a little bit, right? Based off our topic for tonight, right? Just capital ship progression, right? Capital ship progression. We're going to be talking all about it, specifically what that means. We'll go over in just a second. Darth Traders SC, thank you for that subscribe, buddy. Appreciate it. Nick and Hit just subscribed. Thank you for that as well. Probably going to have a lot of subscribes tonight, which is great. Yes, drops are activated. Captain Kern gave out a community sub. Thank you very, very much for that. Yeah, it's great to see everyone. We had a fantastic stream on the last show we did. We had some epic raids by Loken. We had a great raid by Active, and Active in the Verse, and we got just a stupid amount of subscriptions, which has been amazing. Magwell, hopefully I said that right, just gave out 5 community subs. Mag, thank you so much. Salute to you, buddy. Appreciate that. I see Fast Card in chat. Mag hitting it up with the 5 community subs. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. Okay, everyone, stand by here. Just looking into something. Okay, I don't know how that works. That's okay. That's okay. I'm learning something here. Learning on the fly. Anyways, yes, if you do the Banu box, you get, or if you do the sub, you get the Banu replica box. You do get that. Yeah. Which, by the way, we're going to go over all that kind of stuff right now. Actually, let me pull that up because that's the one thing I think I didn't pull up was the Twitch drops stuff. So I want to make sure we get all that information out to you all proper. So let me go ahead and bring that up. Okay, before we get into anything, have a giveaway tonight. Giving away an Aurora Mark II, courtesy of CIG. It includes LTI and a Star Citizen game package. So if you want to get in on that, it's very, very easy. We're going to do it old school style tonight. Okay, we're going to do it old school style tonight. If you're over on Twitch, it's exclamation ticket or exclamation ticket space max. You'll get your tickets for the Aurora Mark II drawing. If you're over on YouTube, if you're part of my awesome YouTube community, all you got to do is there's a link pinned in chat. Go to that link. That is my first episode of my new player guide. Leave a comment on that video. Okay, it can be hi, hello, how are you, all that kind of good stuff. Leave a quick comment there. Okay, I'm going to draw a random comment from that YouTube video. I'm going to put you in the random wheel of names. I'm going to take the Stream Elements winner. I'm going to put you in the random wheel of names. I'm going to spin it. Whoever wins will win the Aurora Mark II, courtesy of CIG. Big thanks to them for that. And that does include LTI, does include a Star Citizen game package. See VMXEO in chat, everyone. Give VMXEO a shout out. Oh my goodness. The infamous person is back. OJ is back with another 100 community subs that he just gave out. If you all remember on the last stream, he went crazy. Gave out 400 community subs. OJ, you know what has to happen here, buddy. I got to throw out that double salute for you. I appreciate that. Everyone give OJ an 07. I can hear my dog barking already. She's excited too for those community subs. OJ, kicking the door down. Absolutely amazing, buddy. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's incredible. Passing on the good vibes. Do appreciate that. Yeah, so Aurora Mark II giveaway. Get in on that courtesy of Cloud Imperium Games. Want to thank my good friends over at Cloud Imperiums for doing that. Want to shout out OJ for being such a legend with the gift subs. It is really helping out at this point in the STARJUMP life cycle. A lot of things are costing a lot. Doing the STARJUMP Summit, all that kind of good stuff. And yeah, the community subs are a massive help. I can't even tell you. It's a massive, massive help. There's really no way to put it into words. I've said it before, said it when we had the stream the other night. I just, I really appreciate it. So thank you very, very much, everyone. Want to address another thing really quick. Oh, we got Art in chat. Art, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, buddy.
You know what?
You wanna share your screen?
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen. You're late. You didn't sleep through it this time. You're late.
I didn't sleep through it.
Everyone, give Art a shout out. Let me plug Art in real quick here. He did make it this time.
I did.
Let me plug Art in. Art, OJ just gave another 100 gift subs on the last stream. He was the one that did 400 gift subs. He's a crazy person. And it's a huge thing. It's amazing. I sent OJ a very hopefully he took it as what it was supposed to be. A very sincere thank you for that. Obviously he did not need to do that, but I sent him a direct message the other day and told him how much it meant to me, because it really does. It means a lot. So
absolutely.
Yeah, that's killer. Thank you very much, dude. And everyone hanging out tonight, thanks for hanging out. I want to address something real quick though before we get into tonight's topic, and this is going to be a funny one simply because thank you, OJ, appreciate it, buddy. Simply because I'm delaying the start of the topic here, but I'm going to get into it, damn it. And that is, I had someone comment on a video kind of making a smart alecky remark about how it took 15 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever for me to get to the main topic discussion.
How dare you?
I don't know what to tell you. It's not a pre-recorded video. It's a live stream. We do things off the cuff. We have other things to talk about. If this was a pre-recorded VOD, there wouldn't be the long wait time. Every one of my community members knows that. They're fine with it. I try to make things as efficient as possible, but we are going to talk randomly, okay? That's one of those sort of streams. However, to appease the masses, get on with it, Grim. To appease the masses, I will say I uploaded our Mine Lane discussion that me and Execute had as a separate VOD yesterday for those that wanted to just watch that. But anyways, now we're going to sit in silence for 10 to 15 minutes just to weed out the people who don't want to wait through that stuff. Okay.
We could just do like a really creepy stare at the camera.
We could.
While we're just drinking things.
Mm-hmm.
Eye contact.
We should get really close to the cameras too, just like this. That's actually the next screen. That's actually the next thumbnail.
You didn't share your screen, so
I didn't share the screen again. Okay, let me. I got to do that. Everyone, stand by. We're a little late setting up tonight. If you're wondering why we're a little late, Art had some family business to deal with. I actually promised my daughter I'd play some Barbies with her, so I was actually upstairs playing Barbies, and it's the way it is.
The makeup? Makeup. Isn't your daughter going to do makeup?
She does. Oh, there is a makeover thing that has to happen. Yeah, there is a makeover thing that has to happen.
Bean.
Okay.
Ooh,
we are giving away. We're giving away an Aurora Mark II tonight, everyone. You know how to get in on that. Do that again, courtesy of Cloud Imperium Games. CIG, thank you very much for that. Salute to you for those watching. I want to go over the Twitch drops. For those of you not familiar, Twitch drops are active on the stream, okay? If you watch up to 4 hours, and you can watch multiple streams to accumulate that 4 hours, you get up to 4 hours, you will get the really cool Foundation livery skin for the ATLS. I kind of wish they would have done something a little bit more sparkly, but it's pretty cool. And then Art will eat a sour whatever he's eating. If you do if you sub, oh, you're doing a Bean Boozle. Nice. Very nice. If you do a, we're at a Hype Train Complete level 12. Damn. If you do a sub to a channel, okay, if you sub to the channel, you buy a sub or whatever, you will unlock the brand new replica lockbox. Very, very cool. These were only available, I think, during the 2022 Bar Citizen sort of tour. Shout out to Griffin Gaming. Griffin Gaming back in 2022 locked one of those down for me at a Bar Citizen event and sent it to me because he's an absolute legend. So thank you for that. But now is your chance to get in on that. Yes, paid sub. No Prime subs. Thank you, Sergeant Perry. Prime subs don't count. But you can get in on that. That is through August 12th. Obviously, we are participating, and you can, rack up those You can you can rack up those frequent flyer miles for your view hours on this channel. So there you go. Okay, next, time to talk about some other stuff right out the bat. It is Foundation Festival 2026. A lot of cool stuff going on. There's stuff for sale, for ships for sale. There's a free. I can't talk tonight. There's a free flight going on. Let's get that right. There's a free flight going on. Warby79, thank you for subscribing with Prime. Appreciate you, buddy. There's a free flight going on. There's the Twitch drops, all the kind of normal stuff. There is referral bonuses, all that kind of good stuff. Free starter packs, or not free featured starter packs actually here. It'd be nice if they're free, but you can save quite a bit of money on them, up to 25%. But there's the Citizen Foundation Festival starter that comes with the Aurora Mark II. Really nice package, by the way, for $45. I'm actually thinking about picking up a few of those just as giveaway items in the future, because that's a really solid starter pack. But obviously the Generalist, the Minor, the Salvage, and Hauler starter packs as well. They have the career kits making their return. I'm a little iffy on these, but for the price, you're actually getting a decent amount when you compare them to other things like the monthly bundles and stuff like that. Time-limited upgrades on the Cutlass Black and Misk Prospector. And then, like I said, a host of ships up for sale. We don't need to run through all these. You know these ships. But again, the Foundation Festival is in full effect. There is some referral awards. Okay. If you use my referral code, but you can also use your own. Okay. You can also use your own. But if you, Warby, Artorius gave out a community sub. Thank you. Art, that's very sweet of you.
I wanted a cube.
That's very sweet of you. You wanted a cube.
I wanted a cube.
You wanted a cube. But yes, there are some referral awards. If you do a referral with your code and someone accepts it, they will get this armor pack with the multi-tool and all that. I guess it comes with all that stuff there in the picture. And you will get an ATLS. Pretty cool little referral reward. So make sure you use your own referral code if you want to get in on that, or if you absolutely do not care about the referral system, please use mine. I do appreciate it. I'm not sure where I'm at on the referral program. Let's take a peek. We're doing it live here. I don't know where I'm at. Let's take a look. 79 citizens recruited, everyone. All due to you all kicking ass, spreading the word. So I do appreciate that. One day I'll hit the big brands pack. That'll be kind of cool. But you know what we did. We pushed to get the Misk Raptor so that we can get that into Fleet Viewer at some point. Creamy Smooth, great name, just gave out 5 community subs. Creamy Smooth, salute to you, buddy. So that is amazing. Greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. Giving out those community subs. Incredible. Thank you for the follows, everyone, as well. Last but not least, before we get into our topic tonight, I want to go over quickly the roadmap roundup. These have gotten less interesting over time. It's really just a preview of stuff we're about to get and less about what the future roadmap is shaping up to be. So, yes, thank you very much again, Creamy Smooth. That is very generous of you. Thank you very much. But there are some stuff here to note, and we'll go through those really quickly. Obviously, the super heavy combat BUL H4 armor is coming to the game in 4.10. We've seen many previews of this. Instancing, I think essentially instancing's coming on board with the new Siege of Orison, but I think they'll roll it out to other things as well. But instancing, so that's exciting to see. Oh, we just had another 5 community subs being gifted out by Major Green
I
Beret
got 10.
and Joy Pop. Both kicking doors down with 5 community subs. Thank you very much, everyone. That is incredible. I got to kick it up. Got to kick that double salute icon up because you're all making it happen. Thank you very much, everybody. Give those 07s to those people that gave out the gifted subs. That is very, very cool of you. Item recovery, ship loadout improvements. So that'll be coming on board. Obviously, the Siege of Orson, like I talked about. Fuel tank and consumption rebalance. Word of warning, big caveat with that particular thing, everyone. Remember, that's going to change a lot. Okay, those fuel tank numbers are going to change many times when we get to 1.0. Rough Gaming Com just sent out 5 community gift subs as well. You all are on a tear tonight. Rough Gaming, thank you very much, buddy. Salute to you. Big supporter as always. I greatly appreciate it. New Wicklow ship offerings, the Apocalypse Arms Vendetta HMG. Obviously, that goes with the super heavy combat armor. And then we got the Hedeby Gunworks Arlington Lever Action Rifle. I watched Active in the Verse use this for quite a while in Siege of Orson the other day, and I got to be honest with you, it was pretty damn cool looking. I need to secure that gun. And then a new weapon attachment, the Hedeby Gunworks S2 Optic. Has anyone in chat been able to try out the new Arlington rifle? Do you like it? I sure like the look of it. I'll say that much. Art, have you tried it all? Have you tried it at all? Oh, Art's on a call. He's not paying attention, y'all. He don't care about the show. Don't give him no subs. Give me the subs because he just does not care. He's lost all passion for this. Okay, continuing on, everybody. That and then obviously the mission giver, Recco Battaglia, is coming back. Well, actually, no. Remaining tentative while the team continues implementing her in her missions for a future Alpha 4.10 PTU build. So that'll probably be an Alpha 4.10 point something build that they'll bring her in. She may not be ready for that initial 4.10 push. Says here, Alpha 4.10 currently available in Wave 1, and the teams are eager to hear your feedback and development as development continues. We did get a sneak peek. I think we need to take a look at that. Just came out today, just dropped today. Gonna pull that up. This is Shipyard. We talk about ships. Look at this really cool stuff. Here we go, everyone. This is a sneak peek of the Stingray. Okay. Don't know what angle we're looking at here. I mean, I don't know what you think, Art. To me, this almost looks like it could be intakes or something. But this is for the Stingray. I forget what the actual teaser message for it was, but I think we could rest assured now.
Feel the sting.
Feel the sting. Okay, I think we can rest assured that the Stingray is probably the 4.10 ship. The August ship, so to speak. Funny point too. I was preparing one of the posters that people that come to the STARJUMP Summit will get, and it's the one that has all the ships on it. And I was like, I almost sent it out to print today, and I said, I'm going to wait to see if I can squeeze in the Stingray. I know VMXEO's in chat. Hopefully, as soon as the Stingray hits the PTU build, we can get that prep for Fleet Viewer because I'd love to include it in that poster. But Stingray, yeah, I mean, I know we've talked a little bit about it. Are any thoughts on what you think the Stingray is going to be? I know we've said everything from light fighter to a competitor to the Eclipse to an E-War ship. I've heard pretty much everything. CIG's been able to keep this one on a little bit of a kind of behind the curtain sort of status. Thoughts on what this could be, though?
I'm just hoping it's not a light fighter. I'm hoping it's something more. I mean, from Kruger, we've already gotten several of the fighter class. I'd like to see something different.
Yeah, I think when there was some. I don't know how verifiable this is. I know when some people were looking in and some of the stuff that leaked, it looked like the Stingray was at a size that would put it at sort of like light fighter sort of category. Wait a minute, is the Wolf a medium fighter?
No, it's light.
Oh, is it light? I thought the Wolf was medium. Okay, so if the Wolf is light, maybe this is the medium then. Maybe this is the medium. We'll have to see. Gin and Tonic says, Graham, the Basher was supposed to come out in August with Pirate Week and the Stingray in July. A dev on the Stingray got sick and switched the order. Okay, yeah, I think I had heard something like that as well. So there you go. Obviously, personnel switching and stuff, that's going to happen. But anyway, I'm hoping it's something a little bit more interesting than just a medium fighter. However, this is Tech Notice. Thank you for that subscription. Appreciate that. However, this is Kruger. And as we know, Kruger sort of builds or at least from the ships we have now from them, are really sort of built around weaponry and sort of bespoke or special weapons. And I don't think the Stingray is going to be any different. I'm not expecting any sort of surprises with the Stingray. However, it will be a ship that further expands the Kruger design aesthetics, the Kruger manufacturer kit. And the more that gets built out, the easier it's going to be for CIG to expand that Kruger line into places that maybe are a little bit more, unexpected. You know what I mean?
I would like something with like dumbfire rockets. Because I think we have one turret, I believe it's on the Valkyrie, that's like dumbfire rockets.
Yeah.
But I would like some like fighter based dumbfire rockets that you could use for CAS.
Yeah, that would be really cool. That would be really cool. Shout out Rain29 for subscribing. Do appreciate that. And shout out to Mootkins in chat. Mootkins is in chat. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Big shout out to Mootkins, by the way. Mootkins reached out and kind of started the process to get the STARJUMP Summit sponsored by Monster Tech and MT Sim. Got all that running, got all that working, which has been huge. We're super excited about the collaboration, the partnership. Just sent off some really cool banners that have the STARJUMP Summit, Monster Tech, MT Sim logo on there. So really excited about that. Yeah, loving the beard. Is that for me? The beard is rocking. Got a few scraggly hairs here. I should have did a little bit of a trim. Sorry, everyone. But yeah, the beard is graying. I'm sure you all can see that. The beard is graying. I mean, I go back with the Stingray. I really go back to what I've said before, to be quite honest with you. I think the one ship we don't really have a solid competitor to is the Eclipse. And I think it would be really, really cool for Kruger to make whatever that, that alternate option is for people that I've always liked the Eclipse. I think it's overpriced, but I've always liked the Eclipse. So it would be cool to have one ship that plays in that realm that the Eclipse does, but is a little bit different aesthetic, all that kind of stuff. So I really think that would be that'd be my like wish list item for Kruger, is to do a competitor to that. Is that the Stingray? I don't know. I think it'd be a good name for it though. If there was a ship that fired, size 9 torps or size 10 torps or something, stealth. I don't know. That'd be pretty sweet. And maybe the weapon part of that for Kruger. We got the train conductor on stream, rocking it out. But I think what Kruger could do that would be a little different, kind of interesting, is maybe because they're always built around some sort of special weapon system, maybe the special part of this Eclipse competitor could be some sort of interesting rotary, weapon, weapon locker that holds the torpedoes, so it can actually hold more than the Eclipse. That would be kind of interesting. I don't know. Speculating wildly here, but that's still what I'm thinking. Jay Cliff gave out 1 community sub. Jay Cliff, thank you very much. Appreciate that. We've had some great community subs tonight, everyone. You guys are killing it. Thank you for the follows as well. Also greatly appreciated.
Dom brings up a good point. The L2122 stands for light. The S may stand for stealth.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I could see that. That could be really cool. See, now I'm excited. Maybe it is something like that. Because again, you think about it, that's the one ship we really don't have a competitor to. I remember having this talk with someone. We were talking about possible Eclipse competitors, and the two manufacturers I went to, and this is when the Wolf first came out. The two competitors I went with was, okay, it'd be cool if Kruger did that, and then it'd be cool if there was an Asperia Tavarin, stealth Eclipse competitor. I always thought that would be cool. So I would be very happy if it isn't. The Eclipse is one of those ships. As a matter of fact, there's just a small handful of ships I've always wanted to own, but I've never owned them because I was like, they're too pricey. They're just too expensive for what they are. The Eclipse is one of those. I would love another option in that category, though. You know what I mean? And if it had the design aesthetics of Kruger, I'd be really, really excited about it. So we'll see. Not much to make out here with this other than it does kind of look like intakes. On the other side, the bright coloring here almost feels a little race-like racing. There could be a racing variant of the Stingray. That could be a thing. But Kruger doesn't. Well, I guess Kruger does have a little bit of the pedigree. Isn't the P-72? Isn't that technically a racing variant? No, I may be wrong. Chat, correct me. We need chat to correct us here. We got the P-52. Is the P-72 a racing variant, or is it still a combat variant? I can't remember on those two ships. Those are two ships I'm not super familiar with. I mean, not super familiar with in terms of their role and all that stuff. Captain Kerr says, yes, it is. Okay, racing. So it's not completely out of the realm of possibility that the Stingray is a racing variant or a racing ship, or that it's not a stealth ship that also has a racing variant. Okay, they could do the same thing they did with the Wolf, where we get one and then a little bit later get another one. You know what I mean? So it's very possible. Very, very possible. Mukin says, I know one is a luxury touring and the other one is fighting. Okay. So there you go. The Kruger Stingray, that is going to be our next ship. Remember, we have the Kruger Stingray, that's going to be sort of the August ship. Then we're going to get something in September. Then October, which would normally be CitizenCon. We're not having the CitizenCon this year, but we have that Squadron 42 thing in Manchester going on. It's possible that could be the beginning of the Squadron 42 public acknowledgement, dialogue, marketing push, whatever you want to call it. And with that could come pre-order bonuses and other things, possibly a new ship to celebrate that. We were just talking, me and Execute on the last stream, maybe for that month, maybe that's when they unveil, a Mark 7 version of the Connie, right? Or something like that. That's sort of a callback to the, the old, the tenure of the project, something that a lot of people who have been playing the game for a long time look at as like as a mascot ship. And the Connie, maybe that's when we get the Connie redo. Who knows? Obviously, November will bring IAE. One of the guaranteed ships we know we're getting for IAE is the Galaxy. That'll be a big release, and that's a multi-cruise ship. And then we'll end it out in December. I don't have the full count of ships they have done this year, but I know they're tracking really well for hitting that number John Crew talked about, which I think was around 27 they were aiming for this year. So we'll have to see. Okay. Talked about that. What are we talking about tonight? Well, we are talking about not that. This. We're talking about capital ship progression. Okay. By the way, the question bot is running. If you want to ask questions, we will pick those up. I'm going to tell you all. What's that?
It is the ninja. Did you read that?
Let's see. Okay. Citizen says, question. If Astropub is attending STARJUMP Summit, he is. Can you do me a favor and ambush him in the bathroom to tell him, hey, Paul, I just want you to know that you're my favorite streamer, and use air quotes when saying streamer, asking for fast car. Yeah, we can do that. We could definitely do that. That won't be a problem. Reload, thank you for subscribing with Prime. Appreciate that. That is amazing. Thank you very much. Reload just gave out 1 community sub as well. Thank you for doing that, Reload. Thank you for the follows as well, everyone. It is appreciated. Drinking coffee tonight out of my Texas Space Navy mug. Any of you TSN folks out there, appreciate the mug. Art's drinking an energy drink. Okay.
That's custom.
Yes. Let's sort of get into this. Real quick, I just mixed something. Axel Darkstar just subscribed. Thank you very much. What do I mean by capital progression? Well, we've many times on this show have talked about, capital ships, right? We've talked about, the Merchantman and the Idris and the Javelin and the Pioneer. We've had those talks, and we're going to bring all those ships up at various points of this conversation, I'm sure. But what we're talking about tonight is capital ship progression. What does it mean to be in, or what does it mean to work up to a capital ship, and why is that important? Why is that something? Because CIG, the way they're building things out, okay, where you can start on the smaller scale and like an industry starter or a combat starter or whatever. The idea there is that you kind of make your way up those line of ships if you want. It's not required to like get to, to win the game, so to speak, but they're giving you that path, right, to work your way up to in game, eventually earning credits through missions and stuff to buy your way or earn your way to an Idris or a Javelin or a Kraken or a Pioneer. But what changes or what should change when you get to that level? Okay. What should change? And right now, I think we're safe to say that right now, capital ships are really relegated to, they're kind of more like water cooler moments to me, where you can pile a bunch of people into a capital ship. You can go have some fun doing a little bit of combat. If you can't get everyone together in the capital ship, then that's fine. It doesn't prevent you from doing anything. You can all get together in smaller ships or medium ships or large ships and still go accomplish the mission. We've seen capital ships sort of pop up as boss ships and events, with Xenothreat and stuff like that. But that's essentially what they are right now. They're just ships that are used as these sort of water cooler moments. But the question is, what could change from a mission type, a gameplay type, a game feature type? Like, what changes could come as you make your way into the capital ship size of gameplay, right? Because I do think it's much different. And I mean, one way you could sort of parse this is to look at it like any other MMO. I bring up World of Warcraft all the time. World of Warcraft has plenty of content for the solo player. Plenty of combat or content for the PvP player. Well, that's arguable. Sometimes they have droughts, but there's content for PvP. There's content for the single solo player. There's content for a small group of friends. There's content for a small group of people that don't know each other, a la the Party Finder. There's content for organized parties and groups. There's content all the way up to full-on organized raids, right? So when I look at a capital ship, and maybe others look at it differently, I do look at it as the raid gameplay of Star Citizen, right? It is when you are pulling together a bunch of people, you have an organized goal that you are all subscribing to, a goal that you are trying to accomplish, and the reason you're taking a capital ship is either it's not doable without one, or going through the headache and uplift of managing a large group of people on a single ship makes that particular activity, mission, event, whatever, much easier, right? So, and it's it really is kind of a complicated topic because it touches on so many things. What do I mean by that? Well, for one, it doesn't just, it's not just a ship thing. When we're talking capital ship gameplay or even large and medium ship gameplay. We're talking about social tools. We're talking about organization, communication. We're talking about missions that matter for that level of ship and that level of organized group gameplay. We're talking about, stuff spread across all the gameplay loops. Immediately a lot of people's minds go to combat when you think of capital ships, because we think of the Javelin, we think of the Idris. But we can't forget there's a lot of capital ships that that are not combat related capital ships, right? There's the let me pull something up real quick. There are the Orion. There's the Pioneer. There's plenty of capital ships that are not combat. How does it play into that? You know what I mean? What does that look like? So there's a lot of questions there that have to be answered. I don't think we have a full understanding either of what that looks like right now. And one would hope that CIG does, but I don't think, I'm not sure totally if CIG has a full understanding of what that looks like, right? So that's sort of why we're talking about it tonight. And actually really quick, I know you all can't see this. This is a little bit of off screen. So just bear with me here. I'm just bringing up a few things real quick. All right. Stand by, everyone.
While you're doing that,
yeah, go ahead.
Ziggs has a question. If the summit gets more attendees each year, so if we keep building on attendee number, would we host one closer to Western U.S.? Would we move it kind of Central U.S.-ish?
I think anything is possible. I mean, just to be totally realistic, totally transparent, there's no plans to do anything like that as of now, but that does not mean it could never happen. I think honestly, it comes down to how many people are interested in this, how well it can grow, what funding for stuff like this looks like. It's not cheap to do this sort of stuff. So if, it would probably, to do this somewhere other than like where me and Art are based, I think it would require higher ticket prices, to be totally honest with you. As you all know, we went with a $50 ticket price. I think we would have to bump that up. Maybe it has to be 75 or something like that, or even 100 to cover what you need to do as these events grow. We're really lucky with this one because we're working with a venue that does a lot of this stuff and is already set up for this type of stuff. So the costs are for the venue itself are, I don't want to say minimal, but there's a lot of built-in efficiencies there. If we went out and rented just a much bigger location to host more people in like a bigger city like Vegas, like they did with Quantum Vegas or something like that, there's actually more setup costs you have to do because now you have to rent, the PA equipment, monitors, computers, this, that, and the other. So things can grow rather quickly. What I will say is, and again, just for full transparency, is I can almost guarantee you that next year's summit will be here in Columbus again, because we'll want to get a couple of these under us before we attempt anything bigger. And again, we'll see how it grows. You know what I mean? So that's the plan. You know what I mean? This is the first time I've ever done anything like this. So it's going to be a learning experience. It already is a learning experience. So,
well, and the other thing too is we have Quantum Vegas that, obviously didn't do anything this year, but it's possible next year. And we also don't want to step on their toes. Mm-hmm. And if they do have that, you're going, as long as my schedule allows me, I'm going.
Yeah, I mean, if they do one next year, which I hope they do, and if not them, then I hope there's other people that do events, like this that are, again, I love a good Bar Citizen. If none of you have ever been to a Bar Citizen event, you should definitely try to go. What I will say is we're aiming for this to sort of be more like somewhere in between Bar Citizen and like a full-on fan convention. You know what I mean? It sits kind of in the middle there. Which I think is a good place for us to start. CCO, thank you for subscribing. Appreciate that very much. So yeah, we're sitting kind of in there. It's like a Bar Citizen Plus or like a mini convention kind of sits there. And we're going to learn a lot this year. We're going to learn a lot this year, which means next year's is going to be, even better and probably even more awesome. So take that for what it is. It's what I have learned already, though, is that these things are complicated to do. They're complicated to do. Spike Siegel says, do you guys have any ideas for a meetup after the official event on Saturday night? Is it more everyone figure out what they do? No, we are going to be doing, I'm going to post information about this soon. We're going to be going to Level 1 Arcade Bar as sort of like a post-after party hangout. I'm not booking the place out privately, though, so it's all just kind of go. It's an arcade bar. They got arcades, pinballs, all that kind of stuff. Real chill. So that'll be what we do. So, okay, back to it. I'm going to pull up this right here. I know this is a little small, but what you're seeing here, everyone, is quite a few little, activities, roles, I guess you could say, in the game. We got combat, we got carrier, salvage, mining, refining, and then I grouped a few of them together with crafting, fabrication, science, and marketplace. There's transport gameplay, e-war, and stuff like that. I've taken the capital ships we know about, dropped them in different categories. Some of them are in multiple categories. Some categories don't have any that I think we should probably have. You could probably add categories on here. We could probably add things like mine lane or other things, and we may do that, but we're going to use this as our visual aid to sort of walk through some of this stuff, okay? Again, in game right now, from a capital ship standpoint, we only really have two examples. Well, three. We have the actually I forgot a capital. I'm going to make a lot of people mad with this one. The 890 jump. Let me get that one in there. But we really only have the 890 jump, which obviously is sort of touring luxury gameplay, which sort of isn't gameplay yet. But I think it was more of a test bed for for capital ships. We have the Idris, of course, which is a combat, and we have the Polaris, which is also a combat. I am considering that a capital, obviously, capital components. So let's go into some of our notes here, and we'll kind of use this as a visual reference as we go. But so we'll start off with how capital ship gameplay should evolve in Star Citizen. Okay. Star Citizen now has more of a foundation needed for capital gameplay. So we do have things like engineering, component damage, repairs, power management. We have fires, life support systems. We have repair, rearm, refueling on board, all that kind of good stuff, right? So capital ships are getting more and more purpose. Now, if some of your arguments are, yeah, but they neutered engineering and they did this, and I fully agree with you. Engineering's not fully realized. Fires are not fully realized. There's problems there. But currently, the problem is that the mission and rewards have not really caught up to that level of organized gameplay, right? They just haven't. So capital ships are still often treated like oversized combat ships, essentially, especially now, with essentially bigger health pools, larger weapons, but there isn't really like fleet ops or anything specific to that ship or a reason why you would need that ship beyond just needing a bigger gun and bigger health pool. Now, I will counter that and say that the tactical strike groups began to erode some of that narrative, right? They began to erode a little bit of that narrative with some of the ability to repair, rearm, and refuel. The fact that we're getting instancing is going to erode a little bit of that too, because I think CIG is going to inject more and more instance content. And within those instanced bubbles, you are not going to have the ability to fly back to a space station or whatever to repair, rearm, refuel. So your carriers are going to start to gain some usage. Okay. So the main question is, why should 10 or 15 or 20 players crew one capital ship instead of bringing 10 smaller ships? And we've had this talk many times on the show, right? Because there are advantages to taking those smaller ships. More individual control, better target coverage, just general per-person flexibility, different types of weapons platforms spread across different types of ships, redundancy, etc. Less dependence on one ship, especially a ship that could be suffering from a bug at that point and is easy to kill. Meanwhile, players that are serving aboard a capital ship, they are receiving a smaller share of the reward. So right away, they're punished because of the way the mission payout system works in Star Citizen. So they are really getting a small percentage of the reward they could get if they just contributed on their own, right? In many ways. And they're giving up control. They're giving up that agency, right? And some people are going to look at that level of control or that level of agency over a ship as the fun. And that's an important part we're going to come back to, I think, on today's discussion, which is the fun. CIG has to make capital ships fun. Now, right off the bat, the idea, I think, is that capital ships should be very challenging. And I think that's a little bit of the wrong way of looking at it. They should be very challenging if you're going out to just chase down a single bounty. Then the challenging aspect of manning an Idris should outweigh any benefit from getting your one minuscule little bounty kill. However, if the mission itself is so challenging that it's undoable without a capital ship, that offsets the challengingness, the challenging aspect of manning the ship. Thus, it becomes fun. You know what I mean? Because now the ship is the only way to do that content. And because it's the only way, everyone is invested fully in doing it through the single ship. And I'm saying capital ship here, but obviously this can apply to large ships, all the way down to medium ships. It's just levels of scale, but we're focusing on capital ships here. The problem is, right now, is that there are CIG, I feel like, and Art, you may have an opinion on this, but I feel like they, at least at the moment, have hesitations with building content around capital ships because there's this sort of inherent built-in suggestion that, hey, we're making this content that you can't do unless you've spent $15,000 or, $1,500 on an Idris. The problem with that is while that's how it feels now, when the game is fully going and we're able to earn ships, build ships, fabricate ships, that's not going to be as much of a problem because, again, you focus back on World of Warcraft, there's tons of content Blizzard makes that I, as a solo player, even with really good gear, cannot access because it requires a team of 20. It's just unaccessible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I think CIG's in a little bit of a weird place right now where it's hard to do that because a lot of the ways into gameplay right now are through real money ship purchases, which makes that challenging. Now, that is not to say they're not doing it. I would go back to the tactical strike groups. And again, this is where I'd love your opinion, Art. I would go back to the tactical strike groups as one of the first times CIG did something where you do kind of need to bring a bigger heavy hitter ship along because they introduced the Mauler. Right?
Yeah.
Now, I haven't fought the Mauler myself personally, so you may be able to add some context to that. Giz06, thank you for subscribing, buddy. Appreciate that. Salute to you. But do you feel like, I've gone back to this a lot, but I do feel like the tactical strike groups were sort of a first semi-fumbled attempt, but there's some success stuff in it too, to sort of make all the different ship roles, including large multi-crew and capital multi-crew ship gameplay, matter. I don't think it was a full success though. And some of that is because of ship design, mission design, stuff like that. But I don't know. What do you think about that, Art? I mean, do you feel that that's a step in the right direction? Like, do you think they are at least acknowledging a little bit of that through TSGs?
Yes and no. They've started in the right way when we look at how they've already adjusted armor. They've already adjusted, and granted, I get it. It's numbers right now. It doesn't, we don't have physicalized armor. We don't have a lot of that other, guts to go with it. But with the radar system, I mean, you have the ship like the Polaris, it's got the best radar in the game.
Yeah.
Currently.
Yeah. And as it should. It really was always labeled as the ship with the best radar.
Right.
You know.
So, they've made progress in certain ways, but I think they've also done some capital ship owners dirty. I'm speaking for Idris people.
Thank you, Hermes, for that community sub, buddy. Sorry,
while, I look at it like, yes, the Idris and soloing the Idris is obviously an issue. They could have done what they did with the Ironclad and introduced a workaround for that, having somebody that has to, it's pilot controlled railgun. Sure. Not an issue with that at all, but make it so that you only get so many shots out of that thing before you have to do some sort of repair on it.
Yeah.
Whether it's 2, whether it's 3, 4, something reasonable where you have to have somebody that is physically engaging with a system, therefore a weapons officer, if you will, someone to play a mini game, to play something, to get that process through, to reset the system, to allow us to, and then you can incorporate engineering with that as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that they could have done and they didn't do it. They just nerfed the ship. And I think that was the wrong call to do. Because I used to, when an Idris came into a fight, especially when they first came out, when they came into a fight, it was kind of a pucker moment. You're like, crap. There's an Idris. We now have to, completely turn on this thing. We've got to fight it, and I understand there's people that can do things way better than I can with smaller craft and nuke this thing like it's nothing. Totally understand that. But now that they've nerfed it as much as they have in the turning radius, in the, as fast as the railgun fires and all these other things, it's kind of taking the teeth out of it. And it's one of those ships that it's just kind of like you see one and you're like, I don't really care anymore. With the TSGs, they did a lot to kind of incorporate, you needed capital ships for this, you needed this, to do this rearm repair. The issue is some of the stuff that they kind of took out, like you can take out those anti-ship guns. They don't target Perseus. So what does everybody do? We bring Perseus instead of a Polaris or an Idris. Why? Because I don't have to worry about the turret taking me out. Completely nullifies that whole section. The other thing is it's a lot easier and more efficient currently to bring fighters from a nearby space station after the fighters die in that trench run than having them spawn back on the Idris and getting in a new aircraft and taking off. And or making it out, limping it out, and getting better. Go ahead. You were going to say something.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, the TSGs were originally supposed to be instanced, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure CIG said that. And had they been instanced, it would have taken that whole spawning from a station thing away. But one thing I want to say, specifically, we're talking about the Idris here, and I think there's a conversation here because it does affect, obviously, we're going to talk about, Arch D Arch, thank you for subscribing with Prime. Appreciate that. Hermes Conrad gave out one community sub earlier. Thank you very much for that as well. We're talking about the Idris, and I think we can talk about it for a minute because it does affect other capital ships. And we're going to talk specifically about sort of the combat pillar here when it comes to capital ships. Obviously a big, important one. And it's important to CIG as well because they just, this year announced the next concept ship, which is a big, giant-ass combat ship. So the Idris and the Odin, to some degree, in my opinion, are missteps by CIG. Okay? A lot of people accuse me of being a white knight for CIG. I'm really not. I'm excited about the project. There's things about the project I don't like and certain design decisions I don't like, this being one of them. The pilot-controlled status of the Idris's main chin-mounted weapon system and the Odin having those size 12 beam weapon be pilot controlled, I think is a problem. I do think there are solutions around this stuff that could serve everyone and make everyone happy. I'll give you a good example. And Art, you sort of brought this up, but a lot of times I think when people choose to bring the Idris, I obviously don't have a ratio here, but I would bet 70% of the time, at minimum, 70% of the time that an Idris is chosen is because one person wanted to bring the railgun to the fight. And it was as simple as that. Now, if some other people jump on board, it's kind of, okay, great, whatever. But the main reason the Idris was pulled out was for that weapon system. Many ways around this, by the way. Let's say CIG did not want to, like you said, CIG defaults to nerfing the effectiveness of weapons through their damage output, etc. But for me, what I would prefer to see CIG do is give themselves more knobs and switches to play with to balance this stuff a little bit more nuanced. A good example of this would put a weapons control officer seat in the Idris bridge, still allow your pilot to fire the chin weapon if they choose to, but it's got a very slow rate of fire. So let's say, I don't know what it would be, a minute in between fires or 30 seconds in between fire. But if you have a weapons officer controlling the weapon, then the rate of fire is really quickly, like maybe 10 seconds in between each blast. So rate of fire could be a knob and switch that you have to do. Another thing a weapons officer could do, especially on energy-based weapons, is to overcharge them. Imagine if a weapons officer could overcharge those weapons, right? Here's another thing that they could do. Dispersion. For example, why couldn't CIG, and again, this would be a gameplay feature. I realize this is not a simple thing. But what if a weapons officer had the ability to either diffuse, especially on beam weapons, the ability to diffuse the beam or laser focus it down to like a pinpoint sort of laser? Imagine if you did that. Let's say if it was a very focused beam, then you're hitting one small area with a lot of intensity. But what if you could diffuse that beam and it could hit a wider, bigger area of an enemy ship, but with less power? You get what I'm saying? So it's Papalevsky. Thank you for that subscribe, buddy. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. So what you could do is there's a lot of ways that you can add nuanced knobs and switches to better balance these ships, namely the Idris, and in the future it will be the Odin. Better balance those pilot controlled weapon systems. You can sort of play both sides of it, and I think there's enough to do there. CIG may be intending to do that. I'm not trying to say they're not. I'm not a developer. I'm not working behind the scenes. There could be a CIG person watching saying, well, of course we're going to do that. And if they are, that's amazing. I think it would make a lot of the people that take Polarises out and stuff like that feel a lot better. You know what I mean? Yeah. We've got go ahead, Art.
To a degree, you kind of almost, with that implementation of the torpedo being fired from behind the captain's seat now, or from behind the pilot's seat on that left hand in the Polaris, that's kind of your weapons officer now, because they can swap between two different weapon sets. I think they're size 2 missiles. There's a bunch of those, and then your torpedoes, and that gives them something else to do besides going down, standing in front of a terminal while someone next door to them is in a size 6 gun, shooting things and hitting targets and stuff. And this guy's just sitting, waiting for something to do. Yeah. He can swap out to that size 2 and start supporting fighters with it, or, hitting other things with it. Yeah. I understand that they can only have a max of 4, where the ones down, and the other ones can have 6 or 8. And that should be different. There should be a reason if you want to throw a big salvo, you need to be somewhere else. Like, I understand that. But yeah, just so they kind of have one in the Polaris.
Latashatio, hopefully I'm saying that right. Latashatio, hopefully I'm saying that right. I'm terrible with names. Brings up a great point here. He says, the kind of people you're trying to limit with controls like that will always have a way around it, like having a secondary account. And here's my answer to that. First off, you're absolutely right. As a former multi-boxer in World of Warcraft, I'm fine with that. I guess what I'm saying is, if someone's willing to go through the trouble of multi-boxing, have at it. I don't think those systems should limit multi-boxers. There should just be a slightly more complicated path to initiating that weapon. Now, on the flip side, I think there's an argument to be made where people might retort and say, well, Grim, capital ships are already a pain in the ass, though, right now. again, you made that argument. Why not just go fly your own ship? And my sort of retort to that would be that capital ships have to have two things going for them. Okay, fine. You've made the primary weapon a little bit harder to engage with. Okay. So make it that much more devastating.
Yeah.
Right. The next thing. Okay. And then that way you're not nerfing the damage ability of the weapon just to satisfy game balance. You have a bunch of knobs and switches that you can adjust. The other thing is, where was I going with that one? Stand by. It'll come back to me. I've lost it. It's out of my head.
Don't hurt yourself.
Yeah. But you get what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah,
there are, other ways of doing that is all I'm saying. And, the other one, this is the other one. So make the weapon very powerful and stay powerful. Don't have it nerfed, because nerfing never feels good. There's other knobs and switches. The other side to that is, and I've said this multiple times, I do think this is what CIG is going to do. Okay. I do think they're going to do this. But when you are on board a capital ship, your risk of dying should be almost zero if you are not up against another capital ship. What I mean by that is, if you're in an Idris and you're fighting off I would even go so far as a Perseus. If you're in an Idris going up against a Perseus, that Perseus should have to work its ass off to destroy the Idris. It should. Yeah. It doesn't mean it can't take it out. It's just going to need to really work for it. But anything smaller than that, like someone in an Eclipse, someone in a Connie, and this, that, and the other, someone in a Paladin, the Idris should be completely unkillable. The shield, shield strength and armor strength should be at a level that, and it should get a multiplier based off the size ship it is, that can withstand that. That's the only way you're going to balance it.
I think within reason, I agree with you.
Within reason. I'm being a little exaggerated, but
torpedoes are a thing. I mean, we look at, we can argue history and stuff, but again, we're talking about a fictional game, so they can do whatever they want with it. But I think torpedoes are obviously something that should counter ships of a larger size. And if you're carrying size 9, size 10, size 12 torpedoes, you should be a threat. Mm-hmm. You should absolutely be a threat. But again, that's going back to having somebody to, tell your PDCs, instead of just kind of having PDCs fire however they want. Yeah, you can have an auto mode that does that, but your weapon officer can also say, hey, I'm seeing on my little radar screen, we've got torpedoes inbound, or we got missiles inbound, and you being able to click those turns all those PDCs immediately to it to intercept those. Mm-hmm. And then you've got to wage, okay, how much ammunition can I spend? How much do I have in the energy pool for those PDCs? Yeah. Something like that. Now, granted, if you don't have that, again, they'll fire, put them on auto, they'll shoot at everything and anything, and they'll target missiles with the same priority as they've always have. Mm-hmm. But just giving you that opportunity of putting somebody in a seat and letting them have the ability to, you can look at that guy at the end of the fight and go, hey, you saved my ship. Mm-hmm. You saved my ship. Some of the stuff we've done with the org is, we teach gunners, hey, when missiles come in, stop firing at what you're firing at. If you can, start shooting at those missiles, because we don't know what they are. Yeah. And if it's a torpedo hitting a Perseus, that can be a bad day. That can be a very bad day. Yeah. So, getting to that understanding of, or even having the fighters, that are running with you intercepting things.
Yeah. And another way of saying, and this sort of goes, and we have several blocks here in our show notes, and this sort of goes to the last question in our first block, which is capital gameplay needs to provide something smaller ships cannot easily replace. I would argue, going further with that it's impossible for them to replace. And when we're talking about just combat, so we're focusing on that role for a minute, I would go so far as to say that the advantage of a capital ship is not going to be in its weaponry. I actually don't think that's the advantage of a capital ship, because look, there's already smaller ships that can fire size 10 weapons. right? We know that, right? So what is the unique thing, or what is one special quality about capital ships that truly does make them special? And I'll tell you what it is. It's defense. Their ability, their shields and their armor capabilities at that size 5, size 6 ship level should be at a point where it doesn't matter if a size 9 torp is fired at them or a size 10 torp, their shields will be able to withstand that. And if the smaller ship, let's say it's an Eclipse or a Retaliator, fires its exhaustive supply, or its supply of large torps, it should not be enough to take down that capital ship. Again, because you have to give people a reason for going through the pain in the ass thing of manning the Idris. And the number one thing I can think of is survivability in a world where death of a spaceman is a thing. Right? It has to be. It has to be that. And here's the thing. When I think about it, if you go back to that World of Warcraft analogy, what's the one reason that you would not, as a solo high-level player, enter a high-level raid instance? It's not that you aren't powerful. It's that you need the safety of the group, right? You need that combined massive health pool and uptime of the large raid group to withstand, the devastating attacks of the boss, right? Whenever you've done a boss fight in an MMO, what happens when the boss casts a spell or does a damage? It affects a lot of players, right? Essentially, it's a grouped health pool, much like the capital ship is a group health pool. Yeah, diversity. There you go. It sort of rests on that. And again, this is why I say, and I say this is not being as a game designer, I get that, although I did go to college for game design, is that I really, truly hope that CIG does not try to reinvent the wheel on everything for this game. Take some stuff from other MMOs that have done it successfully. You know what I mean? And that's what we're talking about. Now, run to the next block. This is a fun one. The next one is mobile. Block 2 of our show notes are mobile bases endurance. Capital ships should become mobile bases. A capital ship should allow the fleet to remain active, should allow a fleet to remain active away from stations for a longer period of time. I think that's challenging in a game where the systems are just not spread out as much. And that mobile base kind of aspect of them should include a bunch of things. Obviously, repair, rearm, and refuel capabilities. The ability to treat and mitigate player injury to some degree. And I think that includes medical facilities on board ships, but also I think it should include some other things related to that. The ability to, do repair not only of other ships that are attached to that capital ship, but also the capital ship itself. The ability to carry extra cargo, equipment, sustenance, additional supplies, again, to bring the uptime up for the capital ship and any other ship within that fleet. And then probably the biggest one, they should be able to unlock some level of command and control capability that the smaller ships can't, right? So right now, we don't have any sort of mission sets or anything that sort of plug into this whole endurance idea, right? And I think in the future, based off the systems they've planned, there doesn't seem to be a way to really plug into that as well. Now, go ahead. I think you got a thought on that.
I think there is a few things that I would argue that there is things for endurance. The problem is that they're not for ships.
Mm-hmm.
So you have things like Tech Smuggler.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Irradiated Valakar mission. We have missions that require us to go through certain things and get to a certain point. You could argue somewhat aligned in mind, but you can really do. Now, granted, you can do all of those solo. I run Tech Smuggler solo when I can,
Yeah.
just because I enjoy it. It's peaceful for me. I just run through it. But for me to do it, it takes me like an hour.
Yeah.
To run it solo. If they were to implement something like that for capitals, I think it would improve a lot in that capital area. So I think they got like the generalist idea. I think instancing is going to help, obviously, with siege and everything else. Like I've heard that that's a pretty lengthy mission.
Mm-hmm.
So doing something like that for the capitals to encourage people to have them out there, and you know, being able to use them as that mobile base.
Mm-hmm.
As you progress through, kind of to give that endurance would be really nice.
Yeah. I mean, look, I keep going to this idea of, okay, why again, let's take away survival. Let's don't take away survivability. Let's take away weapons, because I don't think it will always be combat related. But what is another thing that capital ships could do, like a function they could have that we don't have in other ships? And one of the things, well, actually, we do have it in other ships, but capital ships do it in a much bigger way that really allows for large group gameplay. And one of the things I constantly think about, and this makes sense when you think about a mobile base or a mobile HQ, is bed logging. Okay. This is a system, for those of you new to Star Citizen, we used to have bed logging. You could log out on a ship. If you were part of a party, you could log out on somebody else's ship, log out of the game, log back in, and wake up in their ship. Okay. Now, once server meshing got implemented and stuff, that system broke. CIG then removed it. Then CIG said, well, we're rethinking that. Here's the important part of this, is that capital ships, so the Idris, Javelin, I'm sure, well, the Kraken for sure, and I'm sure many other capital ships really do utilize a lot of their internal space to habitation. So the beds and bunks that were, players utilize. And we talked about this on previous ships, but I think the purpose of a base, a mobile base, is to rally players, right? Bring players together. We've already talked a bit about being able to quick travel people to a location for the ability to more quickly get missions going, especially missions involving a lot of players. I understand that is a very controversial thing to do, the quick travel thing. However, if quick travel was only limited to ships that had, for example, maybe it's a feature they just add to specific ships, but let's say they put some sort of metric in there where if a ship has over, 5 beds, then it can act as something called a rally point, right? Call it what you will. I'm just making up terminology here. But if your ship has over 5 beds, no matter its size, but it has over 5 beds, then it can technically act as what's known as a rally point. And a rally point would be no different than, say, a meeting stone in World of Warcraft. Okay. Maybe it's not a quick travel system, because again, I do know that's controversial. I see Jen and Tonic's message there. And to some degree, I agree with it. But maybe it allows people who are within a planetary distance to quick travel. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're in orbit above Microtech and you've got 4 of your players are down at New Babbage and you're up in orbit, and you got another person that's over in Port Tressler or whatever. Like maybe a limited range like that, maybe capital ships could unlock the ability to pull them in quickly. Now, I wouldn't be able to pull you from Hurston, but it'd be able to pull, because it seems like a simple thing. But even when you're just above in orbit over Microtech and you get some friends down the surface and a couple friends on Tressler, it still takes forever to get those 4, 5, 8 people on board the ship. I've done group missions with people where it took so damn long to get people that were just within a planetary body together that I've literally given up. I'm like, this is taking 45 minutes.
And they can incur a cost with this. We could have a resource that requires it to be on the cargo grid. So it's not a free thing. You can't just freely jump people around. There's a cost associated with it. Make it an extreme cost. Make it something that's overly expensive, worse than Medgel. some sort of thing. Maybe you can call it cruise supplies.
I'm just going to
it has
say
to be on the grid.
I'm just going to say, Jen and Tonic, if I know you're watching. I expect sometime during the summit for you to yell out, "No quick travel." I expect this to be a thing. And here's the thing. I'm not even proposing that as a solution, but what I am trying to do is look at ways to incentivize. He can do that. Is to incentivize, again, not only capital ships and large ships and stuff, but incentivize all the space used up on these ships for beds. Okay, I'm gonna tell you all right now. I've toured the inside of the Javelin, the full Javelin. There is a massive amount of space inside that ship dedicated to just beds. The Idris too, but it's even more so on the Javelin. Okay, think about that. In some ways, you're buying the Javelin. A good, I don't know, probably a good $600 of your Javelin purchase is literally beds. Okay, so it'd be cool to have those make sense and useful. I probably would agree. I'm probably against something like universal fast travel, because to me, that actually takes away from the ability for people to use ships and travel in the danger of travel. But if it was limited to just a planetary body, that wouldn't hurt my feelings too much.
Planetary body outside of combat. If you're in combat, it negates that.
Another
so
good
can't
point.
Have people just jumping on your ship to gun things.
Yep. And maybe like a meeting stone, maybe you need to already have 2 or 3 people on that ship in order to be able to act as a rally point. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of ways to look at that. Again, Art said a resource, but again, it's opening up the ability of those ships to do something. Now, let's focus on something CIG already has done in that regime, which is repair, rearm, refuel. They've already opened that up in ships, in capital ships or ships, ships with hangars. I think that was a fantastic thing to get in the game sooner rather than later, right? It makes them feel special. It makes them feel like they have purpose. Still a lot of problems with the weapons, but right now they've brought weapons. They've brought some level of survivability. They've got some utilitarian function with repair, rearm, refuel, which I think is all good. So that's great. However, let's think about missions that utilize endurance. Some on our list are patrol missions. This is something I would love to see come to Star Citizen, because I talk to a lot of people, and I can tell you there are a lot of people that actually do want this gameplay. There's some people that literally go, "This is stupid and pointless," but it's just because I don't think they're fully thought it out. Let's say you accept a patrol mission, and patrol missions are about endurance. Maybe a patrol mission is 3-4 hours long. So a long mission, and it's more of a timer. It's a location and timer based gameplay. So let's say the patrol mission is to patrol Bloom for 4 hours. That's your location. And it gives you an area you need to patrol around Bloom, and you need to patrol that for 4 hours. And it's a big area, so you're going to have to travel and patrol that area. Because it's a long time, 4 hours or whatever, make the reward payout commensurate to 4 hours worth of gameplay. Should be a pretty damn big payout. Okay? But I think there's a lot of players out there that would love loading up the Idris, getting all their supplies in there, loading it up with redundant ships, extra components, this, that, and the other, extra fuel, this, that, and the other, and going out on those endurance missions if there was the promise of, okay, you've done that endurance mission, you just made 10 million credits or whatever the payout is.
Well, I mean, but you can also do, you could do a patrol mission, and I'll use Stanton as a better example, just for me personally, is, you've got, we're going to take the Javelin out, right, on this patrol mission. And maybe the first part of that patrol mission is you're escorting ships a certain distance. Then all of a sudden it pops up, hey, we've got a bunker that's under attack by Nine Tails.
Yeah.
So now you have to send a drop ship with Marines in it down And oh yeah, by the way, while you're having to help defend this bunker from Ninetales, we also have that fleet that you were escorting, that little group that you were escorting of cargo ships, because there's 2 or 3 there. Well, now they're getting attacked too, so you can't just take your ship over there and hover. Like, you've got to be now in 2 places at once,
right?
And that requires you to kind of and then you send your you're going to send your dropship. Well, of course, your dropship is going to need escorts because they've got anti-ship vehicles down there. So now you've got to send at least a fighter or 2 with them to help clear up ground. And I mean, that's all kinds of stuff that they kind of implement, and not so much a travel to this point kind of thing, but almost in a timer-based system where you've got a whole bunch of things that can happen, and that timer ticks, and as it ticks so long, then boom, this one pops up. There's a probability of this one popping up. And then, so each patrol was different.
Yeah.
And different systems require different things.
Yeah.
Maybe for Pyro, maybe you have to reinforce one of their, the Pyro's Citizen Prosperity or whatever, one of their little outposts. Maybe you got to reinforce that for some reason.
Yeah.
And you have to take so much equipment down there. You have to take supplies to them. You have to take this to them. And that's not something that you can just hop in a drop ship and take it. It needs something else, or, maybe we're protecting them from them. They got people coming in. They're going to do like a bombing run on them. So now you got to bring fighters down there to protect it. Well, or they've got, there's certain criteria. And I feel like there's more dynamic stuff than what we have. The patrol missions we have now are okay, but they're all out in deep space. That's it. To jump from one point to the next, and it's quickly progressing through it.
And here's the thing. I think there could be some serious fun games in chat. Nice to see you, buddy. I think there could be something kind of interesting too about, first off, I would say this too. When I'm talking about all this stuff, everyone, don't think about the game we have now, because I don't think about the game we have now. The game we have now can be gamified and cheated just by respawning easily and stuff. Think about the 1.0 game, okay? So for example, let's say you take this risky patrol mission. There's RNG involved in terms of what NPC engagements you're going to get involved in, or hell, player engagements too. But that's RNG. There could be a situation where you go out on patrol on an Idris and don't encounter anyone. It's easy peasy, but that's a risk. So you technically could go solo your Idris out there, but it's a risk, because if you do come upon, let's say it's a Vandul Mauler or whatever else you encounter out there, and it's only you and that Idris, and you can't repair on the fly, you can't fire all the other guns, you can't fend off the fighters and all that. Again, in a post 1.0 world where death of a spaceman's involved, real cost effect, the real repair costs and damage to your ship and insurance claims are a real thing, you wouldn't want to take that risk. Again, however, the payout being commensurate to the risk, right? So it's something to think about. And you can sort of apply this across the board. We're talking combat missions, but you can apply this across the board to the other gameplay loops as well, okay? Large-scale salvage operations, large-scale mining operations, all that kind of stuff, right? Could be part of that, right? So we talked a little bit about, we talked a little bit about patrols. There could be, again, I'll just rattle off some of these, but convoy situations, blockade operations, that could be really fun. Again, blockade operations, which I could see like tactical strike groups requiring a host of ships, right? Some capital in nature too, to again, sustain those ships. One of the biggest mistakes I think CIG has done too is put too many places for people to keep their ships repaired, rearmed, and refueled. Just going to put that there. I do think that needs to be pulled back by CIG, or future systems beyond the initial 5 really need to be pulled back on them. Maybe the 5 systems we get are pretty plentiful, But at some point, CIG is going to have to limit that. But search and rescue operations, okay? Defending an infrastructure through multiple attacks, right? So defend missions, but on a capital scale, okay? And then essentially power projection missions, right? So the ability to go to an area with a capital ship for the intent purpose of locking that area down. Right. I brought this thing up or this idea up quite a bit in the past too, where if you look at sort of the U.S. Navy, a lot of times they will send a carrier strike group to an area to affect, project power to without make ever it maybe they have no intention of actually flying sorties off the deck of the carrier, but they'll send that strike group out there to push the opposing force in a direction they want, either diplomatically or, through dialogue or what have you, coercion, whatever. I think that should be the case with capital ships. I've brought this up multiple times. If you, for example, take your Javelin here and you fly to Pyro, and let's say you're out by Bloom, if scanning stations, other players, anything like that, scan and detect you, maybe you can be out there undetected, but if any of them scan and detect you, I think StarSim, which is the back-end system that creates things dynamically, once they have scanned you and they have relayed that to the network, then I think dynamic missions and stuff should populate based off your mere presence. And I don't think that should be the case with every ship, but capital ships for sure. For example, if you're flying a Javelin, you're out in Pyro, and a bunch of people scan you, okay, I think that should dynamically spawn some Vandal NPC raids on you or Vandal pirate raids that do attack runs on your Javelin just to harass you or whatever. That should be part of it.
Well, what if they
Critical
took something
Mass,
that
thank
they
you for the subscribe.
What if they took something that they kind of already have implemented again at the FPS level, Ghost Hollow? So are you familiar with Ghost Hollow?
Yeah.
Okay. So going in, you start generating credits, right? Because you're in there and you hack the system and it's generating credits. Well, then people, get that alert of, hey, this is happening. You need to go handle it. So if you went to a certain area, maybe it's in, obviously it'd have to be in Pyro currently, or maybe even in Nyx, depending on how they view the law system out there.
Yeah.
But, you're projecting power in this area. It should generate a bounty for you.
Sure. Yeah.
Under a different category, not necessarily like a bounty as in you're wanted, but a PvP centric, because again, you went there, you want this to happen. This isn't something that just happens because you're there. You go to these certain areas, you want this to happen. And that's how a PvP brawl gets off.
Sure.
People get hey, listen, for 50 mil, I can go out and seek, and it'll give you an update on. Maybe it'll say, it won't tell you what ship's there, but it'll tell you we've got 3 capital class ships, 6 sub capital class ships. So you kind of have an idea of what you're coming into.
Yeah.
Nothing specific. You still have to figure it out yourself. But then, because right now the only way to kind of generate PvP is you go and you find somebody and you fight them, or org leaders get together and they coordinate.
Yeah.
And if you want something kind of dynamic, off the cuff kind of thing, that would be a really easy way to generate that.
Yeah. Real quick, Critical Mass, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate that. Also, everyone, giveaway tonight. I am giving away an Aurora Mark II with a Star Citizen game package and LTI, courtesy of Cloud Imperium Games. If you want to get in on that and you're on Twitch, it's !ticket or !ticket space max. If you're over on YouTube, I have a link pinned to chat. That'll take you to my new player guide video. Leave a comment on that video. It can be a random comment. I'll pull a random winner from YouTube, and I'll pull a random winner from the Twitch side. We'll put you both in the random wheel of names. We'll give it a spin, and whoever wins that random wheel of names spin will win the Aurora Mark II with LTI and Star Citizen game package, courtesy of Cloud Imperium Games. Thank you very much, CIG, for sending that over. It is appreciated. Yeah, let's continue on here. Strategic objectives. Give capital ships strategic objectives. Capital ships need objectives beyond simply destroying the largest target. Okay. Command and control. Capital ships could provide fleet-wide capabilities such as sharing sensor contacts, identifying priority targets, coordinating missile warnings, assigning intercept zones, tracking friendly fuel and ammunition, relaying communications, managing fighter launches and recoveries, right? All things we've heard about, CIG has told us about that they want to do. I think a lot of that has been mentioned before. Again, going back to the weaponry, capital ships could be required to at least soften targets to a point where fighters can engage them. Again, we've seen a little bit of that with the tactical strike groups, which is a good usage of it. Now expand that to many other types of gameplay areas. So, but the same can be said for other gameplay loops. Okay, let me give you an example. There's no reason why, for example, said example too many times, but like, let's say you take the Orion to a large asteroid field. There's a giant asteroid. The Orion is able to break that asteroid. And then from that break, smaller ships, moles and prospectors and arastras can get in there and mine those broken pieces. But they can't affect it until it's been damaged by the Pioneer, or sorry, the Orion. Same could be said for many other. You could extrapolate that to salvage and all that kind of stuff too. Again, we're sort of framing a lot of this in the context of combat, but that's not how it has to be framed. It could be framed in any other way.
Salvage, they could take apart derelict space stations. Would be awesome to see.
Yeah.
A derelict space stations out there, been damaged, destroyed, or whatever. They come in, chop it up into pieces. Maybe there's pirates inside, so you gotta send some FPS guys inside to kind of help clear things out. Maybe, possibly, because I like my industry to be a little spicy from time to time. Not always, but a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, TSG's had a great start on a lot of things. I think there's a lot of little niche things that they have that I don't really 100% like.
Yeah.
But that's me personally. I really wish the anti-cap gun killed Polaris's just as well because, or I'm sorry, Perseus just as well because again the Perseus just goes in and dominates everything.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see them have to stay back too and let the fighters go in and kill turrets and kill, do more of that work.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I want to look to a little bit of our thing here and why I made this thing here, So obviously on the combat side, there's a lot of representation there from capital ships. We have the Polaris, the Idris, the Javelin, the Odin, that will all play a role in combat-related activities. Again, ships fall into multiple categories as well, everyone, so keep that in mind. And carrier capability, which is really important from a capital ship standpoint, specifically because carrier operations that don't really look as carrying a ship from A to B. The real strength in the carrier ships is their ability to repair, rearm, and refuel. Let's be honest. That is the new reason why you have a carrier ship. It is no longer to ferry ships from A to B.
How would you feel if within reason, obviously within reason, if these carrier ships could essentially spawn ships as well? Again, within reason, resource requirements. Because currently we're having issues with ships falling through that are sitting on the deck. Especially in the Idris. We've had stuff fall through, we get lost and stuff like that. So giving the ability to, maybe there's 3 pads that are in that Idris that they can spawn stuff. Again, within reason, you have to have the weapons, you have to have the missiles, you have to have all that stuff on the ship. The components and stuff you'd have to have, if you were upgrading it and it wasn't stock, you'd have to have those on the ship. A major money sink.
Sure.
But being able to, and then maybe there's a time limit involved.
Yeah.
You could spawn 3 and maybe it takes 10 minutes before you can spawn another 3.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things. There's going to be some people that don't like it and some people that like it because it kind of is a form of fast travel in a way. So again, it's one of those things you have to build in sort of a series of requisites, I think, to make it not the easy switch, right? You need to build in some stuff to sort of make it make there be a level of friction to that. So carriers, it's going to be all about repair, rearm, and refuel, and I think force projection. Ultimately, that is the real benefit of the carrier. Salvage, we only have the Reclaimer right now, but you can bet there's probably going to be additional salvage ships in the future that are of capital level at some point. Again, capital ships, much like we just talked about, maybe in the future there are things we can salvage that do have to be sort of fractured first by a capital level salvage ship, and then the smaller salvage ships can come in there and clean up the bigger piece, or clean up those sub pieces. There's no reason that CIG has to be limited to that sort of thing only with mining, right? And I'm talking big pieces. So for example, maybe it does require a reclaimer to initially break apart something like a javelin. That makes sense, which I think maybe even be the case. But keeping that sort of top-down thing going. Mining with the Orion. And also with refining, because the Orion is going to be able to refine as well. So again, we're just talking about degrees here. Why I'm on snap mode, sorry. Again, all this applies to all these ships. Over here with crafting, fabrication, science, all these ships are probably going to have capital components of some point. And again, that's another thing, is right now capital ship in many ways is defined by its components, which to some degree you have to define it some way, but what we're sort of saying here is that it shouldn't be just the components that define that. It needs to be functionality. It needs to be unique feature sets. Exactly. Survivability. There's a lot of components that go into making a ship a capital ship, and making it, by definition that. Obviously the Endeavor will be a modular ship, being able to tie into multiple gameplay loops, Privateer and Merchantman tying into marketplace gameplay, which, interestingly enough, and I say NPC market-based gameplay, currently capital ships are the only path to NPC marketplace gameplay. Well, that and space stations. CIG has not said any other ships smaller than those two will be able to access that. Now, you'll be able to run your own stores out of any ship through the Maglock decorator mode system, but we're talking NPC marketplaces. Currently, it's limited to two of the biggest ships in the game, the Kraken Privateer and the Banu Merchantman. 232, 39 meters and 260 meters respectively. On the transport side of things, Hull D and Hull E. Now, CIG has already made it a point to remind us that the Hull E is going to be the biggest cargo ship, at least for the foreseeable future. I think that will stay in place well after the release of 1.0. E-War, we're definitely going to need capital ships. Now, here's an argument I would make, too, is that on the E-War side of things, I actually think that all capital ships, just through raw computer power and radar scanner power, size power, should have some level of E-War capabilities, just because of, again, the power of their radar and scanning abilities. Even if the radar and scanning, ability is not specifically designed around E-War, I think, for example, a large capital ship should be able to blast out a damn near an IR noise, background noise, that doesn't completely jam smaller ships' radars, like enemy ship radars, but at least makes their radars more difficult to use, right? Hey, Griffin Gaming's in chat. Again, speculating wildly here, but you get what I'm saying. Let's keep going here because time is of the essence. Don't have too much more time. Don't know if we'll get to all of our show notes on this. But one thing I think we do need to talk about is rewarding the crew, right? 100%. Rewarding the crew. This is an important one. How do you incentivize players to crew the ship? Capital gameplay will not work unless players have a reason to leave their own ships behind. So the first thing is CIG's got to stop using these flat reward splits. That does not work. Capital contracts should be designed to support the number of players required and possibly go further than that, the number of players and the role they are assigned to. Perhaps roles they are assigned to. Yeah. Possible rewards could be a base contract payment, individual crew wages, department bonuses, hazard pay, performance bonuses, repair ordnance reimbursement, survival bonuses, ship recovery bonuses. So, for example, a 12-player mission should pay enough to reward 12 players. A 40-player mission should pay enough to reward 40 players. And again, that's an easy multiplier for CIG to do. Hell, if they put a multiplier in there for reward payout, it would actually encourage people to take more crews along, because the reward probably gets bigger, even their cut of it, right? So that's important. The other thing I think we need to be able to do is captains of capital ships, or any ship really, medium, large, whatever, a multi-crew ship, captains should be able to create essentially a mission order, job order, whatever you want to call it, where crew members have to register, like it's sent out like a beacon to interested people. The people sign up, they get assigned a role, and in that contract, there's already a crew wage in there that you're going to get paid, and that money goes into escrow either from the mission and the mission giver, or if you as a player are doing some sort of dynamic mission, like if you're just going out mining that night, then you offer up payment that goes into escrow for those people.
Yeah.
And there should be controls there. You should be able to set if it's a flat rate. You should be able to say if it's a per hour thing. You should be able to make it to where it's based off the amount of resources gathered. So for example, you should be able to go in there and put, if you're doing mining operations, you should be able to put, okay, they will get such and such for every SCU of triconium, whatever. I know that gets super granular, but people are going to want that granularity. CIG's given us the depth and granularity to these ships. Give us the depth and granularity to how we interact with the people around us.
Just, make another tab on the Moby Glass that's maybe only specific to the region that you're in.
Yeah.
So kind of like your contracts are to a degree. A subtab, it's, just job postings.
Yeah.
Hey, this is what I'm offering for this. I need gunners. This is what I'm offering for gunners. This is a bonus you get for kills.
Right.
This is a bonus you get for missile interception. This is a bonus you get for call outs.
Yeah.
To kind absolutely of incentivize people to say, hey, this is what I want. I'm moving cargo.
Yeah.
I need people to throw boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Per, SCU that we're moving. Every time you move a box, you get something out of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, if you're just moving it back and forth on the grid, obviously it's not going to, account for anything. But moving it from the your hangar or wherever you're loading it from onto the ship, that gives you money.
Right.
And then it holds that money until the mission's over.
Well,
so that way you get that payout.
Yeah.
After the mission's over, so you don't have people just grabbing stuff real quick and then bouncing out.
If you have an ironclad and you've landed it in a hangar, you get a crew of 3 people with you, there should be a way for CIG to check how many boxes a player set on the elevator, right?
Yeah.
Now, again, it's not perfect. There's a lot of edge cases here we're not considering, because a lot of people like to chain boxes out of a ship. So one person pulls them out of the ship, another person takes them from where they've been thrown and puts them on the hangar or the elevator, freight elevator. But there's still ways around that. Again, you could go back to the flat rate thing or a percentage based on time, etc. There's a lot of ways to do that, but we need that granularity in how we reward people for being on board, right? It's very important. But you could also put in bonuses there, right? So if engineering, you're able to look at logs, that should be one of the things a captain should be able to do, is look at the log of activities on a ship. If you look on there and it says, oh, this component and this component were repaired by these 2 people, and I know we were just in a fight, I would go, man, those repairs probably kept us up. I'm going to give them a little bonus. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that's important. And again, that can factor out to all the gameplay loops.
Well, this block kind of ties in with the next block too.
Yeah.
If you're ready to move to that.
Yeah, we can move to the next block.
And that's the crew progression side of things. So doing the job rewards you not only with credit, but with maybe some sort of reputation.
Mm-hmm.
We've got blueprints now that are coming out based on stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're an engineer, right, and you're doing all these repair work and you're getting all this stuff, maybe your captain on your ship, you prepared, I was working on your ship as an engineer. I did a stellar job.
Yeah.
And you gave me a good rating. And that rating then turns into rep within that profession. And I get to
job performance rating or something.
Yeah. Which then improves. Maybe I repair things a little faster because I have a better multi-tool. Or I'm able to craft better fuses because I'm a better engineer. I'm able to craft better fuses that last longer on your ship.
Yeah.
So you want me so that when you see, when I hop on, you're like, man, I'm super excited that you're here because I know that my ship is not only going to be at its top, but it's going to be over the top because while I'm there, I'm crafting components for you. I'm working on other stuff. Give me something to do in a capital ship versus setting in a turret, waiting to get from point A to point B, or setting in a fighter, or setting in a salvage head, mining head, waiting to get from point A to point B while the pilot is, hey, sorry guys, the quantum drive dropped out. Hey, sorry, this happened. Give me something to work on.
Yeah.
Give me something to do.
And there's no reason why, in certain RPGs where they give you a certain number of character points and, Sharkashay, thank you for giving out 1 community sub. Appreciate that. But there's nothing to say like in some RPGs where they give you a pool of points and then you can assign those points to various character traits that you have, and then you can sort of customize that. There's no reason that CIG couldn't develop a system where a mission has a payout amount, but that payout amount can be distributed by you in whatever way you want. Now the question would be, what about the mission anchor, the mission captain, whatever, who abuses that, right? Okay, well, you give them a bad rating. Give them that bad rating, and that will reflect on their sort of permanent record, right? And if the question is, can people game that system? Of course. Look, there's no way to get away from people gaming the systems. Yeah, this is the thing. You have to sort of get away from the idea of people not being able to game systems. They're going to be able to game them. Brian Mayhem, thank you for subscribing. Appreciate it. Did I miss that one? Sorry. Yes, people are going to be able to game any system. Okay. And no system's going to be perfect. But we got to do something. They've got to incentivize why you would do this and not only why you would own a ship like this, but more importantly, why the hell you would crew one. Right? Yeah. Big deal. For the sake of time, I do want to move on to actually I want to move on, Art, to Block 8. We're going to skip some blocks here.
Yep.
I have a limited time tonight, which are sort of questions that I think naturally come up from this topic. And I know some of you all asked questions as well, which I think we could probably answer some of those now. Let's look at the question list here, see what we got. Let me look here. Hudson Ox says, my question is, since when is the Stingray considered a ship? All signs point to it being a ship. Write it down. My daughter's trying to talk to me. Let's see here. Jadrin says, do you think that one day if you launch into a server as a party, you will all spawn on the party leader's cap ship in space, like logging in from its open bed? Well, there's some argument to be made that maybe that's one way you can fast travel, quote unquote, to a capital ship is if you're coming in from the main menu as a party, not just in game and then pulled to a location. That could be one way to get around it. And I would personally be okay with that. Genetonic says, on the endurance thing, I agree, but realistically, how far are you ever going to be from a port in Star Citizen? Well, I mean, that's a good point. Again, it goes back to my opinion of, again, ports are too plentiful in Star Citizen. I think way too plentiful. Way too plentiful. And in some systems, they're obscenely too plentiful. I think Pyro is personally, I feel like Pyro's got a lot of problems with the amount of services available in it. And I know exactly why it happened. It's because Pyro was in development so long waiting for server meshing. And I think CIG developers were just like, well, server meshing's not going to be available for another year. We might as well keep tooling around in Pyro. And they just kept adding and adding and adding and adding stuff, right? So I do think it's a problem. Socially Confused says, do you think we'll get quests to complete when we crew a capital, like the box mission or like a repair mission in Pyro? It's possible, just on a capital level. I think that's very possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very easy for the captain to go in and kind of, you know, or just dynamic missions pop up on your ship.
Yeah.
You know, hey, we've got, you know, this needs to be, you know, you need to tweak the power supply on something, or hey, maybe you have an engine that's out of sync with the other one, so it's turning the ship, so you have to, you know, stop and you have to go out and you have to repair it in some form or fashion.
Right.
Or you need to, you know, you need to pick up stranded fighters. We already have a dynamic, you know, fueling mission where the fueler comes to you. What's to stop us having a mission where we go to fighters and we pick them up?
Right. Right.
And the AI takes control. They come in, they land. We're good.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Captain Kern says, if I have 8 crews through 8 ship purchases, can these crew be used for my friends to all morph into my BMM? So spawn in. Saying I had all on this ship as I left hangar so that my org can easily board the ship. If I'm reading you right, does that mean like if you have NPC crew members on your ship, then your org mates would be able to sort of like teleport in and control those NPCs? That's an interesting thought. I hadn't really considered that, but that is an interesting thought. We do know that's going to be a thing. Post 1.0, Captain Kern says yes. Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I hadn't thought about that. Having an NPC crew that other players can tap into. I do think, though, that the same stuff we've been talking about applies, where those players are still going to want their payouts. They're still going to want the benefits of running that mission, even though it's not their player character there. Now, there's a nice advantage in that they won't have any of the risk either, you know, of dying or whatever. So
also, but here's the thing too, is, you know, and I've seen this a lot through the chat, is everybody saying NPC crew, NPC crew, NPC crew. We don't know what that cost is going to be.
We don't.
It might be extreme. I mean, you may be looking at $1 million plus per crewman for a week, maybe more.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't know what supplies you were required to keep that crewman happy. Maybe there's a system with it where, you know, if they get unhappy or get unsatisfied, stuff starts falling apart.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much with the NPC stuff that we don't know. I mean, we know it's coming according to what they've said so far. But we don't know what that cost will be. And it might be, you know, we're looking at it like, oh yeah, crew are going to be a great thing and it's going to be easy and it's going to be wonderful. And there might be a huge cost with that. And you're going to rethink your process on NPC crew.
Yeah. Yeah. Genatonic says it's not a new idea. It's called agent smithing. Yeah. It's a new idea to the games I play. None of the games I play have that ability. So for the games I play, it's pretty radical idea. And I don't think it's a perfect solution. I think there's issues with it too. As a matter of fact, I think it actually undermines Death of a Spaceman in kind of a major way. And if CIG's intent is to still do Death of a Spaceman, then it's a major problem, because anytime you build in something to undermine another system, people are going to do the thing that undermines it. You know what I mean? Quinn says, you need to go through all the Dan Truffin videos on NPC crew. They are meant to be complex. Yeah, I mean, but here's another thing too. We also know that just because CIG said something in the past doesn't mean it's always going to be that way in the future. So go back, watch them, understand that it's still, there's no telling the way it could turn out. I mean, the last we heard, Death of a Spaceman isn't dead. They're still fully intending it. They actually even brought Death of a Spaceman up pretty recently. So it may be very different than what we thought, but it's still a thing. Voidlock gave out a community sub. Thank you very much, Void. Rabbit07 says, do you expect we'll see NPC crews and capital ships doing various jobs around the verse, or will they just be using small ships? Supposedly, they will be in capital ships doing various jobs within the ship. Supposedly. We'll have to see. I'm still very bullish on that. I still think it's going to be pretty limited, though. I'd like to be proved wrong, but I'm a little pessimistic on that one.
We still have NPCs that T-pose and stand on.
Yeah.
On chairs.
Yeah, exactly.
And tables.
Nate says, question, do you think that when the Odin arrives, any capital ship just needs to run, making any gameplay purely station PvP or in-game PvP? So I think the Odin is going to have one major negative thing, and I think it's going to be its ability to turn, maneuver, and all that stuff. I think 2 javelins could pose a real threat to the Odin. I really do. I could be wrong on that, but I do think yeah. VG says Death of a Spaceman hint in the 4.10 news page. Yeah, there was a 4.10 news page release right here. I guess there is a Death of a Spaceman thing probably over here, with only a small percentage of the population able to utilize the regenerative technology. The High Court has been asked to weigh in on whether mercenary guild member company Eckhart Security has the right to require its employees and contractors to have functioning imprints. Sparanto Lima, who filed the initial lawsuit, claims they had their contract unfairly terminated when it was revealed that they were no longer able to regenerate if they were killed while working for Eckhart. Kind of interesting. Yeah, kind of interesting. Let's keep going here on our questions. Nate says, how many javelins will it take to challenge an Odin? My guess is 3 to 5. Maybe. I mean, the javelin brings a lot to bear. I could see it being 2 javelins posing a real threat to the Odin. I could see that. VG says, would it, because remember, the javelin fires size 12 torpedoes. And quite a few of them. VG says, wouldn't loot tables be helpful? Tables that record mine, salvage, or looted items. Yeah, absolutely. Some sort of tracking system like that. 100% agree. Let's see here. 1 second, everyone. I'm going to stop the question bot. Let's see here. Paul Taylor, follow frame, says, question, do you think exploration will be coming in soon? As I've had the Aquila since 2012. I'd like to use it for its job. 07, thanks. Love your chats. Thank you. I think exploration is going to get some attention when base building comes in, because I think exploration is going to be a major part of surveying for the proper land and resources to build your base on. I don't think exploration is going to be so much about going to uncharted space. It's going to be about looking for specific things and finding them. VG says, does the Odin represent a benchmark similar to the Kraken, which was reached through the Ironclad? Or sorry, does the Odin represent a benchmark similar to Kraken, which is reached through Ironclad? Will CIG have to build multiple smaller ships? Okay, so essentially, will CIG have to build other Anvil large and capital ships to get to the Odin? Absolutely. That's why I say don't even look for the Odin to go into development for 7 years at least. They're going to have to build Anvil frigates, Anvil corvettes. Absolutely. The current manufacturer tech is nowhere near big enough for the Odin. Nowhere near big enough. Let me just, to give you an idea, I'm gonna spawn in what will soon be one of the largest Anvil ships. Now we have the Carrack.
Super Liberator.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull in the Liberator here. I'm just gonna pull the Liberator by the Odin. Damn it, they're over here by the Odin. There we go, and I'll zoom in. Just again, there's no way this kit is gonna work as is. They need a lot bigger stuff here.
They're just going to develop the super Liberator.
Yeah, the super just Liberator.
Stretched one. It's like a bus.
Hank Reardon says the Odin will be in development well before that. Possibly, but I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. I think they have a lot of work to do on the Anvil line before they get anywhere near that. There's absolutely zero gameplay for the Odin at this stage. There's no reason to put it in. Even when they revealed the concept, it was quite clear it was one of the roughest and earliest concepts they have done, honestly, since like the 2016 era. There was a lot of the parts of the ship they didn't even know what it was going to be. I think the Odin is minimum 5 years out and more realistically 7 years out. Because honestly, for the next 4 years, I could sort of predict the capital ships they're going to put into the game just in the next 5 or like the next 3-4 years alone. Giz06 says, I have a question. I think engineering gameplay on a capital ship needs to be better. So the only way to repair or do power management is from the engineering terminal. Well, they showed us that role in a past video where how that's going to be how you manage the engineering gameplay loop amongst engineers, mechanics, repair specialists, all that stuff. But I do agree engineering needs a lot more depth. And ultimately, engineering needs to be the way to keep a ship's uptime pretty much infinite as long as you can keep repairing it at such and such a rate. Sort of like Sea of Thieves. Again, borrow what works from other games. Hagatha says, with Death of a Spaceman and Agent Smithing, wouldn't it be good to say this scenario? If you have 5 generic NPC meat bags in the ship, I take over the meat bag as a separate entity. Yeah, going back to our earlier conversation, yes. However, it introduces the idea, an idea that undermines Death of a Spaceman. So in that you have to have agency over your character and play your character at that risk. It doesn't mean they couldn't allow agent smithing, especially for complex stuff like that. But I still think I think that would be very, very controversial. I think that would be very, very controversial. All right, Art, maybe we do some of the block 8 questions here that you've got while I get the giveaway set up, because we are being given away an Aurora Mark II tonight, everyone. If you want to get in on that, if you're over on YouTube, leave a comment on the video. That's there's a link pinned to chat. Go to that link. It's my new player guide video. Leave a comment there. I'm going to pull a random comment from there. And on Twitch, you can do !ticket or !ticket space max to get in on this Aurora Mark II giveaway. Again, courtesy of Cloud Imperium Games. Do appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to get a few things set up, Art, if you want to run through some of these questions.
Well, there's only a couple there, but why should 10 players crew one capital ship instead of bringing 10 individual ships?
Again, for me, it goes back to safety. Guaranteed safety. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think if they...
And possibly higher reward payout.
Yeah, of course that. But I think if they put kind of like that, the feeling that we have when we're on those space stations, you know, going back to what you're saying with safety and in the availability of the resources and stuff like that of us, you know, I can go to the weapon shop, I can pull ammo and stuff. I should be able to go to the armory and pull ammo. Mm-hmm. You know, I should be able to have weapons stored on my ship that's reliably there, that every time I spawn that ship, that thing is stocked, the suit locker should be stocked.
Sure.
You know, so we have all of that stuff there so that, you can absolutely, you don't need to stop at those stations or stuff. Or maybe you take a smaller ship, put it in your capital ship so you can make supply runs.
Yeah.
And resupply that ship. You know, I think, you know, they have to make being a crew member engaging and fun. I think it's the other part of that.
Yeah.
Because right now you're pretty much, at least for me personally, because I, again, do more combat than anything else. Being able, you know, either I'm piloting, if I'm not piloting, I'm sitting in a turret seat somewhere.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
And giving us something better to do with our time. If we want, you know, I don't want to make everybody have to do things, obviously, but prepping the ship for combat, and by putting that work in, your ship is at a higher standard when it jumps into combat, should be important, and should, you know, making adjustments to your turrets should make them maybe fire better. You know, engineers putting more work in. Again, maybe greater range on your turrets, maybe larger capacitor on your turrets, you know, upgrading your components, actually being able to upgrade capital ship components. Because right now we're stuck.
Yeah.
We get what we get. I mean, I mean, that's basically all I could change. I could change this, a few things on the Polaris, but I think it's one thing. And then torpedoes. That's it. And I think the same thing for the Idris. You could change the gun. Yeah. And that's basically it.
I mean, again, I think subcomponents could really give the ability for us to interact with capital level components in a granular level with full-on replacements and stuff, because the subcomponents would be small enough that we could do that. You know what I mean? So I think, again, I would like CIG to talk more about subcomponents at some point. That would be really cool. That would be really cool.
Do you think that capital ship missions should last several hours or continue across multiple sessions?
Missions designed for capital ships, I don't think they all have to be exclusively like long duration missions, but I think they probably would lean more heavily into that. And again, I go back to the raid sort of comparison in WoW. When I have 4 hours to dedicate to WoW one night, I might do a raid. If I only have an hour, I'm going to do a solo thing. You know what I mean? A solo gameplay. So I think capital ship missions could lean on the longer side.
Well, how would you feel if during that mission, so say you have a mission that can be like 4 hours, but during a certain point to that, you get to like a checkpoint kind of system where you have the option to progress forward. And we kind of have that with like the ASD facilities. Those missions kind of stagger on each other as you do the investigation through with needs initially. I mean, once you complete them all, obviously you can just run it, but going in and being able to, maybe your first part of your mission is doing so many things, and then you have the option to, it gives you the option. Do you want to continue, or do you want to, you want to call it here? And then that way you're able to come back and progress through that. So it's not, if you only have an hour to give, sure. But if you wanted to do that 4 hour slog, you could just push right through it and get it done.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do the giveaway.
Let's do it.
This is a fun topic, and one that we could do a part 2, part 3, part 4 on. And we will talk about this topic again in the future, without doubt. It's one of my favorite topics. Some of you may wonder, why do we have this conversation a lot? Why do I do these capital ship shows? I'm going to be honest with you. It's the thing that attracted me to Star Citizen. Multi-crew ship gameplay. If I was only interested in flying a solo ship all the time and just doing that, there's actually games that do that now. I could go play No Man's Sky, fantastic game. Could go play Starfield, could go play Elite. There's lots of games that do that well, and I think Star Citizen will do that well. What really attracted me to Star Citizen was the fantasy of being in a big ship, multi-crew ship, whether that's a 3-person ship or a 30-person ship, and living that fantasy of playing with a bunch of people on a single ship. That's what brought me to this. So this is a topic I talk about a lot. It's a big reason why I love the big ships. It's not just because they're big. It's that they invoke a fantasy that you really can't get in any other game. It's not out there. I mean, there's some that do a little bit of it, but I do think it's an important thing that CIG needs to figure out and solve, because I do 100% think it's a big reason why people play this game. Okay. All right, everybody, we are going to do the giveaway tonight. We are giving away an Aurora Mark II with LTI and a Star Citizen game package, courtesy of Cloud Imperium Games and Info Runners, just rated with a party of 392 viewers. My goodness. You came in.
Time to raid.
You came in just as I was getting ready to raid, and the funny thing is, I was going to raid you.
You could raid him.
Damn it! Execute and Algrid, messing up my plans. I hope you guys had a great stream. I hope you guys had a great stream. Oh, you just got. Oh man, Execute just insulted. That was hard. That was hard.
He always insults me. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, I'll raid Paul. Execute, Algrid. I hope you guys had a great stream. 2 awesome dudes. Those of you who don't watch Inforunners, what are you doing? Go watch them. They do awesome content. And again, one of the few groups out there like Soul Citizens and stuff that like talk about the game and dissect things about the game, which I really love. So make sure you go support them. Love Algrid, love Execute. Awesome dudes. I was going to raid them tonight, but they messed that up. That's okay, but I appreciate you bringing your people over here. If you want to get in on this giveaway, we're giving away an Aurora Mark II with a game package from Cloud Imperium Games. All you got to do is !ticket or !ticket space max to get in on that. Okay, get in on that while you can. Going to do this drawing. Now, for those of you over on YouTube, All you got to do is leave a comment on that link pinned to chat. You've had your time to do that. So to draw that random semifinalist, we've got the after date set for today's date, 7 p.m., which is when the stream started. I'm going to pick a random YouTube comment, and then your name will go in the random wheel of names along with whoever wins the Twitch side of this. Okay. So what we're going to do. Okay. Let me look at that DM.
Nothing major.
I'll look. But let's go ahead and pick a random comment. We're going to grab this in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hopefully you got your comment in there. Picking a random comment now. We'll let random comment picker select someone. Give it a second.
Quinn wants to know what happens if you win on both sides. So if you did the YouTube and the Twitch,
then you're guaranteed the winner then. Citizen Wake. There we go. We got our comment left 2 hours ago. Citizen Wake, congratulations, you're a semifinalist. Plugging you in, the random wheel of names. Thank you for the follows, by the way, tonight, everyone. You are amazing. And a big shout out again to all the people who gifted subs. Huge shout out to our boy OJ, who's an absolute legend, gifting another 100 subs tonight because he's a crazy man. He's a crazy man and very generous, and we appreciate him. Okay, we're going to do our stream elements side of this semifinalist poll now. Let's go ahead and do a refresh. Let's get that refresh going. We're going to close the giveaway in 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. See how I did that?
That was good.
Yeah, we've closed the giveaway, everybody.
I just want to say that congratulations, you counted down.
I did, well. Yeah. That was
no missed numbers.
Hard. Don't ask me to do the alphabet backwards, please. Here we go. We're going to draw a winner. All right, winner is drawn. Let's scroll down to the bottom, and it's Anil Chase. Hopefully I said that right. Anil Chase, congratulations. You are a semifinalist as well. Now remember, everyone, if you win the random wheel of names, you need to contact me on Discord, okay? StarJump_Grim. I will then need to confirm you, validate you. Now, if it's our Twitch winner, if it's Anil, I can whisper you on Twitch. That's another way of doing it. So Twitch winner has 2 ways. YouTube, you have to contact me on Discord, though. StarJump_Grim, Citizen Wake. Okay. Here we go, everyone. Going to spin it in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good luck. This is for an Aurora game package with LTI.
So when's the next stream?
I don't know. Probably Monday. Citizen Wake. It's Citizen Wake. I know you, buddy. Citizen Wake, all you got to do is DM me on Discord, StarJump_Grim, and I'll get you sorted, buddy, and we'll get you the Aurora Mark II with Star Citizen Game Package LTI, courtesy of our good friends over at Cloud Imperium Games. Shout out all for always making things happen. So there we go. The Aurora Mark II is an awesome ship. It's a truly awesome ship.
Like it.
Yeah, it's very good. It's very good. It's very good.
Everyone,
we've had a pretty epic night. I'm sorry it's only a 2.5 hour-ish almost show. Unfortunately, I do have to run and hang out with my daughter tonight. I promised her we would play some games and stuff, so that's what we're going to do. But you can, we're going to raid someone, and you're going to be able to take your watch-a-thon over to them. And if you're trying to get one of the Twitch drops, and that will carry over into another stream, you don't have to worry about any of that. We are going to raid. You know what? Here's what we're going to do. I was going to raid Paul, but he's doing real good, and he's doing something with Loken. They got a good crowd going. So I'm going to raid someone who needs some people. And I'm going to raid Jojo. We're going to send everyone over to Jojo. Good dude as well. Give him some STARJUMP love. I know he's getting into streaming, so make sure you give him a little STARJUMP love. Big shout out to the Info Runners for sending their community over here. Execute Algrid, you guys, I know I love you. Awesome people, do great things for Star Citizen. Art doesn't love you.
I like Algrid.
Yeah,
I don't like Execute. No. It's just because he's jealous of my fancy headphones.
Yeah, of course. Everyone, going to start the raid. I hope you have a wonderful night. Make sure you do hit that follow button for JoJo. He is a good dude. Thank you, everyone in chat. It's been an awesome time talking about this topic. We could talk about it forever. Have a great night. See you all on Monday. I'm going to get the show schedule up for the next week, probably sometime tomorrow. Okay. Art, thanks again, buddy. Everyone, salute to you. Have a wonderful night. I appreciate you. Have a good time over